Um, can everyone hear me? Well, I guess you can't answer me, but yes. So I'm pleased to introduce you to Judy Tal Kopelman, who is a Bezalel Academy School of Art and Design graduate. She is also a public artist. In a minute, we'll speak about what that is. And also with us here is Randy Luderman, Vice President of Arts and Culture, JCC Association. So it's really exciting to be able to bring this presentation to you. We want to start by introducing Judy and asking you, Judy, to tell us a little bit more about yourself and this artistic medium that we call public art.
So hi, everybody. And thank you, Shira and Randy and Sarah, if you're with us. It's a very big privilege for me to be here with you all. It's now 8 o'clock and I'm at home in my little Okay.
Here we go.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I want to apologize that I'm going to be showing you lots of pictures, so I'm going to step aside now, and you won't be seeing much of me, but you'll be seeing a lot of pictures. So let's start. As to your question about public art and how I'd like to introduce myself, I'll start with showing you this presentation that I've prepared here. This is me not very long ago. I stopped dyeing my hair, so so I look a lot younger, but this is actually from not very long ago. I do public art, or you would say that I'm a graffiti artist. I've been doing this for years now. As a Bezalel graduate, I've studied graphic design. And that has been my expertise for many years, along with writing books, children's books, novels. And I'm very preoccupied with Jewish themes, you may say. My technique is a special technique called stencil art, if you've heard of it. I actually produce stencils, either laser cut or hand cut stencils, and I use them in order to produce the murals that I do, which are my commissioned art projects.
They should give you a space behind hello.
Can you hear me? Is everything okay?
Okay, make sure we
can hear you.
Make sure it.
Can you hear me now? Okay, this is an example of a large stencil that I've been using to do a wall that's in the center of Tel Aviv in Neve Tzedek. It's a wall that's a tribute to Shai Agnon, the most famous Israeli writer, Nobel Prize winner. He was actually inspired by his religious roots, and that's something that I've tried to show on this mural. And I wanted to show you this picture because you can see the special technique I'm using, and this will enable us to share communal murals, and we'll be talking about this a bit later. This is an example of a very fine cut, laser cut stencil using Ktav Rashi. We place the stencil on the wall and spray on top of the stencil and receive the images. Or we can make them by hand, and this is a picture of a hand-cut stencil that I produced at my studio. My studio is actually located in Neve Tzedek at Neve Shechter, which is the Tel Aviv branch of the Shechter Institute, which belongs to the conservative movement. It's a very beautiful location. I'm very honored and privileged to be working there. as a resident artist. It's a
Judy, if I
place.
can just, Judy, sorry to interrupt you. Everyone, I'd like to ask everyone to please mute yourselves because we are recording the presentation and we can hear a little bit of background noise. So if you're not muted, please do so. Thank you. Sorry, Judy, please continue.
Okay. It's actually, I'm part of a whole cultural endeavor, I would say. And I'm part of many other projects that are being held at Neve Shechter, which don't necessarily have to do with graffiti. So sometimes I get dressed up nicely and not always full of paint. And so it's really part of my work and my art is part of the Tel Aviv contemporary art scene, and as I said, mainly focused on contemporary Jewish issues and matters. This picture was taken just 2 or 3 days ago. This is a very huge mural that we've done. A group of artists that came from America and from Israel and from Australia and from Europe as part of the Jewish Art Biennale in Jerusalem. And this is a large mural of typographical works, actually. These are 2 artists, and I'm down there on the bottom. The one that you see on the left is Hillel Smith, an American artist, which I hope you know. And he did Kihina Kachomer Beyad HaYotzer, which is actually a piyut from the Yom Kippur service. And right next to him, I did a contemporary poem by Natan Zach. So this might give you a little bit of a taste of an example of the scale of the works that we do and the themes that we deal with. You asked me about what public art is like and what it's about, and I wanted to show you one work that exemplifies maybe the dynamics and the relevance of working in public. This is a work that I've done with 929. We'll be talking about this a bit later. It's a commentary or a visual commentary, I may say, to the verse Azorim bedim'a berina yiktzor, which is Psalm's phrase. In English, it would be, "They who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy." And the visual that I put right next to this phrase is actually a portrait of Yarden Jerbi. She's one of Israel's leading she's a Judaican, you say in English?
Judo.
A judo pro. And this is her in one of the Olympic competitions. She'd won a gold medal, and she's pointing at the Israeli flag. And this, I think, shows how when you work hard and you cultivate the soil that you are working in and living on, then after all that hard work and sweat, you reach your, you enjoy the fruits of your labor. And this was sprayed in many locations all over Israel. And this specific one was sprayed at the Reali School in Haifa. I think you've been there, Shira, so you've seen it. And just recently, what happened was that I've received photographs of this mural that's been sprayed with black paint. And somebody vandalized this mural. We were told that it was an extremist Orthodox, I don't know, you'd say vandalist. We're not sure. There were cameras there, but we're not sure who did it. But this is part of doing public art. It's putting your beliefs and your artistic and humanist expression on the walls out in public. And then creating a conversation which can sometimes lead to conflict, or to other ways of communicating with people. So eventually I went back to Haifa and I resprayed this drawing. And I think it's interesting because it shows that even though it's not a very pleasant situation, that doing art in public can really reflect the dynamics of Israeli society, or the society wherever the artist is working. And I'm very intrigued by being part of this. I feel that doing public art as opposed to doing private art and doing it out in the open and being part of the public scene and public reality gives you an opportunity to be influential and to be part of what's going on. This, of course, went into the public media and to the press, and it provoked a whole conversation about what is legitimate, what isn't legitimate, and in this specific case, about the place of women. We're dealing in Israel with a lot of conflict about excluding women from the public scene. And this is an example of how when I put a woman's face out there near a Psalms phrase, it was actually vandalized and then repaired. So that's part of doing public art. This is another example. This isn't my mural, but this is a mural that is right next to my studio that was actually vandalized by the municipality itself. This was a mural that was done to commemorate the murder of Yitzhak Rabin. And actually, by mistake, the municipal workers were told to erase it. And again, the artist came back and redrew it. So this is something that's happening when you do public art. Another aspect of being a public artist is engaging community in doing the mural. And this is a picture taken in Beit Daniel, which is it's a Reform community center in Tel Aviv. And this is one of the pictures from a very large community project that we've done together about a beautiful Psalms verse. I really, I'm gonna show you a lot of Psalms works, which was a very big project that I've done. So what you can see is that anyone can join in the making of the mural. Because I work with stencils, which I showed you in the beginning, it enables all people of all ages to join in, because once the stencil is ready, all you need to do is put it up and spray it. So it's possible for people who aren't artists themselves or who have no training to come and join in. You can see that there's a little girl there who's 4 years old and a teenage boy, and they all created this mural together with me. This is a family job that's being done. That's a father and his 2.5-year-old little boy. They're spraying together. This boy was still afraid to hold a spray can, so his father is teaching him how to do it. Another possibility is to actually do the murals using the stencils while I'm not there. This was done in Hanaton, which is a mechina. It's a pre-army school year that the many young Israelis do. And I wasn't able to come and do it with them, unfortunately. So I just sent them the stencils over and gave them a few instructions from far away, and they did it themselves. They chose their own colors. I didn't plan this mural to be so blue, but that's what they like doing. And so that's also another way of looking at public art, that it's art that belongs to the public. The public is part of the making, and it also changes, and it's a dynamic procedure. Once the stencils are ready, I don't control the way that they're treated or what's been done with them, and I actually like that. It's letting go and leaving it up to the others to continue.
So Judy, can you, I mean, you've showed us quite a few examples of these works that have the biblical phrases. And so I think it begs at this point to sort of, if you can tell us a little bit about this particular project, about 929 and your work there, and how did this begin?
Okay, so let's continue. How did this begin? The beginning, this is a little bit behind the scenes. This is actually thanks to my oldest boy, who was a very rebellious teenager. His name is Yoel, and we've been working together for a long time on my projects. He's now 25. He was doing a lot of illegal spraying when he was a rebellious teenager, and as a mother, I didn't really know how to respond because, you know, it's illegal and it's vandalism, and I also didn't want him to get in trouble with the police. So I said, hey, why don't you teach me what you're doing, and let's do it together. So in the beginning, he thought that's not very much fun, you know, spraying with your mom and doing legal things, but he realized that actually it might be a good idea. And we started working together. This is the first mural that we've done with 929. This is from the central bus station in Tel Aviv. It's about Lo tov heyot ha'adam levado. It is not good for man to be alone. And we did 3 teenage kids sitting and immersing themselves in their iPhones, which was our interpretation of this phrase. Another one we did at the beginning, this was the second one, was Lech lecha me'artzecha u'moladetcha u'mibet avicha. Go from your country and from your father's home. This was about Abraham. And we said, yeah, but that's what backpacking is about nowadays. I'll tell you a little bit about 929 in a second, if that's okay, Shira.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, you asked me about sources of inspiration, and I wanted to mention a writer that I've been very influenced by. His name is Chaim Be'er. He's not very well known in America, but he's one of the prominent Israeli authors. This book, Et Zamir, was translated at Time of Trimming, really gave me the idea and the context of bringing religion and bringing holy, so-called realms of life down to the concrete day-to-day reality. And that's really what I'm doing in my in all my works. And you can see on this book the shofarot, they're all gathered together on an army blanket. It's a picture from the army rabbinate, which in their Orthodox way brings religion to the army. But I think that the combination of holiness and secularism is exactly, it's supposed to be a contradiction, but it really isn't. It's a complementary existence. And that's what I'm interested in doing. You can see this also in this work where the soldier is resting, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. And at that moment after the combat, there's the gentle touch of the butterfly, which is sort of a speck of heavenly touch. So that's in short about inspiration. Shiru Adonai shir chadash, bring a new song. There really isn't a new song. It's all about tailoring the old songs that have always been sung in order to suit them to our sizes, to fit us. So this is a tailor who's putting together a suit, which is like a one-time piece from the ancient and the more contemporary texts. Okay, I'm just going to talk about 929. Okay, this is a screenshot of what 929 looks like on the Einline site that they have. In short, 929 is 929 chapters of the Bible. It's a very huge project that's initiated by Benny Lau, Rabbi Benny Lau. It's actually appears now in English as well, the second round. So I recommend so warmly that all of you get to know this project, which I was really privileged to be part of. As you can see on the screen, there's on the right, there's the original text, and then there's just a flood of commentaries and poems and artworks and discussions and conversations by people from all over, from all the different spectrum of Israeli society, and now in English also of English and American thinkers and writers and creators. So actually you can learn the text and you can listen to it, you can get into all the traditional commentaries, but you can relive it in a very down-to-earth, daily, contemporary, up-to-date way. And I think this message is very relevant for all of us. And what I also like about it so much is that it brings together Jews from all over the world. These are the first two works that 929 has commissioned in the Psalms project that I told you about. This is a verse that talks about spirituality in my understanding. It's about looking inside instead of looking up to the sky. You freed me from distress. King David, the poet, was thinking about our Father up in the sky when he was writing this, I think, these beautiful verses. But I think that there's a spark of belief inside us, so we can also look under our outside levels, and we can find heaven and the whole universe everywhere, also inside us. Another beautiful thing to be said about 929 is that it deals with controversial social issues that are part of our life in Israel and part of living in the world. This piece shows the Ethiopian immigration. You have let men ride over us, and we have endured fire and water. It's a very well-known phrase here in Israel. This boy, this is Ethiopian boy that actually immigrated to Israel miraculously not very long ago, is kissing the Holy Land as he arrives, as he's getting off the plane. This is based on a documentary photograph. And in the background are Holocaust survivors, which also came here miraculously in fire and in water. I don't know if you've been aware of the racial conflict that we are experiencing, unfortunately, in Israel. And I wanted to show in this work that the Ethiopian miracle is another one of the many miracles that Israel has been experiencing. And this is something that 929 is encouraging. It's encouraging the connection between the old phrases and their relevance, their complete punctual relevance to us living here in Israel or all over the world. Do I have time to give another example, or do we have to move on? You're muted, Shira.
Okay, sorry, thank you. I think what I would like to ask you just, I think if you could talk a little bit about where these works are displayed. We've seen the breadth of how diverse they can be, the images, the conversation that it sparks, and how it makes text accessible in a very universal and a visual way. Could you tell us a little more about where the actual works are displayed? I mean, what determines where they're going to be displayed?
Sure. Okay. Some of them are displayed and some of them are not displayed. This is actually a work that's not displayed, and this is to give you a little story about what's been happening behind the scenes. קח נא את בנך את יחידך אשר אהבת, which we all know from the sacrifice of Isaac. Take your son, your only son, which you have loved. I put this phrase right next to a visual moment of the mother sending her son off to the combat service in the army. This is at the recruiting base in Tel HaShomer. And this is something that I had done. It so happened that my older son went to the army to a combat unit just that week when I was commissioned to do this phrase. And this is what I came up with. And the staff members at 929, who are all educators of a very high rank at the Ministry of Education, said, "Wait a minute, you can't do this. This is too painful. This is too troubling. We want to bring people together. We don't want to upset people." And there was actually a really sort of impossible conflict between Rabbi Benny Lau, who said, "Why don't we hold this off?" and his wife, who had sent 5 boys to the army. And she said, "You know, this is exactly how I feel. This is so honest. This is so precise." And they reached the conclusion that this was going to go on the website, but not on the wall. So some of the works were not displayed. Most of them are actually displayed all over the country. The big chunk of work is at Beit Biram, which is the high school at the Chuza in Haifa, and where the Open University campus is. There's like a load of 40 different works there, one next to the other. So it's actually like a really wide span exhibition. Some of them are displayed indoors at the Schechter Institute in Tel Aviv, at a Pilgrim's Hotel at the Kinneret Valley. Some of them are outdoors. This is also in Neve Tzedek. That was the Agnon wall that we talked about. This is at the Beit Daniel Community Center in Tel Aviv. This is at the Central Bus Station in Tel Aviv. This is a recent work that I've done at the Jewish Art Festival. It's at it's on a train cart at the train station at the the first station in Jerusalem, which is it's an entertainment center. This was about heaven is all around us. And what you can see here is a piece of heaven in each little scene that's happening. The girl is blowing bubbles, which have a piece of heaven in them, and so is this traveler and the violinist, etc. This is displayed, I'm honored to admit, at the President's residence. This was from the day we brought it over, and it's been hung there. This really, this is a piece of work that really deals with what Ruby Rivlin, our president, is mainly focused at bringing everyone's different diverse truths to work together. He hasn't succeeded yet. And this is also another work that's not completed yet at the Haifa port. So the answer is really everywhere.
Mm.
You're still muted, Shira.
Clearly also not that talented with all that to do with the tech, but I wanted to hear from you. You know, these things that are displayed. We talked central bus station, and the train station, in schools, in the port, and out in the public. What is the message that's most important to you when you have all this exposed out there?
Okay. So I think my main concern is really to, and this is exemplified or seen on this recent mural that I've told you about. As you see this backpacker, the straps of his backpack have a piece of heaven in them. And I think that you really don't need to be a religious, kippah wearing, tzitzit wearing individual in order to live a Jewish spiritual life, or any spiritual life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Jewish one. There are many forms of expression where we can bring our spirituality out into the world. Art is definitely one of them. And I think doing art is just like praying. It's another form of spiritual practice. In Hebrew, actually, omanut and emunah, okay, art and faith are both from the root of amen, of saying amen. That is subduing yourself to bigger, wider, vaster powers, and being part of them and giving them expression. So if we're talking about conveying a message, I think that would be it.
Mm, mm. So I think before we turn it over to Randy for a few minutes, I just want to ask you one final question about where would you like really to take your art? What are some of the things that you're working on right now?
Okay. Would you like to see a video, or is there no time for that?
No, yeah, let's see the video. Let's see the video, and then we can ask this last question. You can answer this last question.
Okay, tell me when to see it.
We just started at the beginning, Judy. It started at 49.
Okay, sorry. See it well?
Judy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that definitely gives us the the feel of the excitement of the project.
So
Why don't you?
that's why I wanted to show it, because you talked about future projects, and I would really like to just keep doing that. Doing art out in the public. This is the train station in Tel Aviv. So many people passing by, so many people taking part, people responding, taking pictures, asking questions, talking to us. It was such an exciting day. And there were many more, and that's what I'd like to keep doing. Yeah.
Amazing. So I think before we have a few questions that came in whilst you presented, and before we turn to those and to other questions, which I'm sure are percolating, I just wanted to hear from Randy, who's with us, Vice President and Director of Arts and Culture at JCC Association, a little bit about how you see Judy's work in this particular project as being relevant to JCCs.
For sure. First of all, thank you, Shira, for putting this together with us and for us, and also to Judy for her words and her work, and for so many of you for showing up today. I know we're all busily doing our own thing. One of the things, excuse me, that's most exciting to me, we often hear this phrase that participation in Jewish cultural arts is a pathway to Jewish engagement. And we actually believe differently. We believe that participation in Jewish cultural arts is Jewish engagement. It's not a road to, it's actually an active, dynamic, experiential, an important piece of how we engage and touch our communities, both Jewish and not Jewish, frankly, because we all live, our JCC communities live in complex, diverse communities, many of them, and partners across the board, both Jewish and non-Jewish. So what's most exciting to me, first of all, I love Judy's work, as she knows, because I've spoken to her about it before. I'm going to repeat back a few things she said that make me personally very excited. She talked about the reality that public art is different than private art, if you will, and that it reflects or can reflect and provoke the dynamics of a society, and that on some level that means relinquishing control and being willing to engage in complex and deep conversations with people who are like us, people who are different from us, people who we thought were the same as us, but we're realizing now in dialogue we have differences of opinion and points of view. And it gives us a sort of baseline to respond, and I think that's an incredible gift of this particular kind of art. And something I'm struck by also is the idea that, it's a dynamic process, the building of the work itself, the painting and the community involvement just in creating the works with Judy, but it's also dynamic in response to what happens where you display, how your communities engage, how new partners may engage. I mean, we'll get to a place where you'll have a moment in a second to answer a question about your inclusion of Arabic. I am struck by the invitation to dialogue, and the thing that I think is relevant for JCCs always, as we look to invite working artists into our communities that can create conversation and also things of beauty, both, to preach to the choir, which is a funny metaphor in this context of Jewish cultural engagement, I know, but to preach to the church choir, as it were, that's not enough. We have to open the conversation broadly and understand that we're part of a larger world. And the reality is, I just came back from a remarkable few days in Pittsburgh, where I participated in a memorial at the Tree of Life and within the Jewish community and the extended community in Pittsburgh. And the most potent moments are when our communities are mixing with other communities and a dialogue is made possible by art. That was our experience this weekend. So what I see as an opportunity for JCCs is an invitation to build something together with an artist, to have deep thinking behind that process and joy in building it, and then subsequently to invite a deeper conversation. I think that's really exciting and unique. The other thing that I wrote down, Judy, that you said that made me happy was doing art is just like praying. It's another form of spiritual practice. I want us to remember in our communities that people believe and are moved by different things and in different ways. And your JCC may have a deeply connected Jewish education program. You may have a wildly busy health club. You may have a terrific kid after school program, and you may have an arts and culture and engagement platform that you use in your communities. But all of these are different languages that allow people to engage in their Jewish journey. And this is yet another deeper, more beautiful language. So to me, it's a very relevant partner opportunity for our JCCs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. So a few questions came up while you were presenting. Lenny, who's here with us. Hi, Lenny.
Hi, Lenny.
Lenny's question had to do really about relating to why Arabic is included in the works. And just to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, well, just the answer is very simple. 20% of our society in Israel are Arabs. And I was very happy to be able to engage anyone and to include actually that sector of society in this conversation that these murals are hopefully creating. Especially in Jerusalem, also in Haifa and Tel Aviv, not so much, but especially in Jerusalem, there were a few murals which were located in areas where they're closer to the eastern side of Jerusalem, and many Arabs passed by our crew while we were working, and they stopped by and they asked questions, and some of them actually said that I know this. We have that in the Quran. And that was a magical moment for us. So I was so happy that they were able to read and to understand and to relate and to stop and talk to us. And I think that's another way of trying to bring peace. In America, I don't know if you would be needing Arabic. It really depends which neighborhoods your JCC is located at or which cities. I think, the more the better. If these works are accessible to a larger variety of people, then I think we could include or exclude any language according to your specific needs, which are geographically varied, I suppose.
I'd like to say something else, which is, if you don't mind, I'm from Montreal, and I'm part of an English minority in Montreal. And while it is a law that French must be everywhere, it's not a law always that English must be next to it. And there is nothing as effective or as quick as excluding somebody's experience to create a divide that cannot be mended very easily. I mean, by opening the door and saying we are all speaking different languages, but we are feeling similar things, it is about building community. And our JCCs are not just about building Jewish community, they're about the greater community and the role that we as Jews play within the greater community as connectors. So I think, Judy, your reasons obviously make total sense in Israel, but I also think there's an opportunity here for our communities around North America to think about what that means and how it might be reflected in a project.
Okay.
Judy, another question came up here, which I think is probably on a lot of people's minds in the audience, about just some technical stuff about what walls are recommended, how much time is needed for particular work, sort of the nitty-gritty of the actual project.
Okay. Well, the question is actually, I would say, I would give a modular answer to this. Okay, the simplest and fastest and cheapest way is to just get a copy of my stencils. I can either send them to you and you can spray them, and that would be one option. They have a set size, but I can also make larger or smaller variable sizes because these are all computer-based files, so that's not a problem. Another option is to do a communal engaging mural, which is really my most recommended option. because I think that utilizes a lot more of the power of that this medium suggests. It's not just about the outcome, it's about the process. And the more we invest time and energy in the process, the more meaning it will have in the end. So that would mean that either I would come, which would be great, and I could lead this project with staff members. It could be a large-scale project. It could be a large mural, which would involve screening and using stencils, or it could be a smaller one that would be like, you know, like a large poster size. We could do 1, we could do 10. There are many which are all available. And another more progressive option would be to create from scratch. So not use like the Psalms project, which I've already created, but to create an interpretational work of your own, using the same technique, taking a verse, taking a poem, taking a midrash, taking a Mishnah or a Talmud tractate, and giving it a visual interpretation together, suggesting several interpretations, discussing, learning, having a learning session, and then creating the visual, and then the mural. So that would be a more that would be a lengthier process, which would involve a few sessions. So it's really up to you. It's up to your possibilities and your time and your schedule. I'm hoping to come to America around May, so if we'd be able to kind of cluster a few communal projects together at that time, that would be great.
Okay, amazing. I'd like to open it up for more questions from our audience here. Just remember to unmute yourself if you. Clearly, I was.
Oh, Judy?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Robin from San Diego. This year, San Diego's hosting the JCC Maccabi Games. I don't know if you're familiar with.
I've heard of them. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Games, Arts Fest, Access, all of the above. And we're really excited. We've already been talking to Hillel because we were thinking of doing something similar. We were considering like the biennial in Israel, like having it around the community in San Diego leading up to the games. But does it make sense to incorporate it with the games, or is this just a separate thing on its own? How does this work? Like, I love the community engagement aspect. We just have so many questions about, does it make sense to do it at the same time or even leading up to it, or is this just a completely different undertaking?
I would love to jump in here, Robin, just for a quick second, because I'm the director at JCC Association of JCC Maccabi Arts Fest. So we're excited to be hosted by San Diego this summer. And I want to say 2 quick things. And then Judy, of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts. One is, just so you all know, when Judy says she's hoping to be in the States this coming May, that it is we're in the process of constructing the scenario by which Judy will be with us at J Summit, which is our biennial conference for lay leaders and leadership of Jewish communities, where we will sort of be, I hope, experimenting with some of this large scale stuff, as well as working in smaller groups discussing importance and impact of community art engagement. And Robin, what I would say to you is, I think there are many opportunities to engage community, and I think that we should have a conversation whenever it makes sense with Hillel, as Judy knows Hillel as well. They just finished working together, and we have a visual arts specialty at Arts Fest, so there may be an integrated moment here, as well as larger.
Hillel is he's our artist in resident for Arts Fest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So he and I actually have a call early next week. So maybe you and I will speak before then, and we can sort of get our ducks in a row. But I don't know how familiar Judy is with JCC Maccabi or sort of the other elements that would make something like that at JCC Maccabi possible. But it's very exciting to think about a large scale project when you have a lot of people coming into your community.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll
that
be
sounds
happy
good.
to join in. So yeah, I'm going to finish most of my obligations and by May, and after that, I'm not planned yet. So as we say, open to suggestions, and I'd love to work with Hillel again, and I think that it would work both ways.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions, folks?
I have a question.
Mhm.
My
Yes,
question,
Randy.
my question is actually for the people who joined us on the call, and there's no pressure to answer, but I'm curious about the reason you joined the call, I guess. I'm wondering if anybody wants to share. I mean, Robin, you've obviously spoken a little bit about what's on your mind, and I've heard from some of you about it already, but I'm wondering about specifically why you joined the call and what the call was able to, whether you got what you needed, and how we might clarify or do other work with you to move things forward. No? Two on the spot. That's okay. I get that also. It's fine.
Randy,
Because people are muted. Sabrina, I see you're typing. You're hoping to bring Judy here soon and wanted to get more information. Understood. Okay. Because is everybody still muted? Is that what it is, Shira?
No, everyone is
Unmute yourselves if you want.
unmuted and they can unmute themselves. And I think Shirley, I could hear, has a question.
yeah, I just wanted to say that I have a personal interest in street art, and I was very excited to join the call, but I'm also looking for ways that we can do things together with Israel and go on the more universal level. We have an adult center that does so much art and culture programming. So that's why, and I think that the possibilities of this are endless.
Well, I agree with you. And I think also one of the great benefits of these kind of projects and of specifically doing something together is also to strengthen the connections between Israel and American Jewry. I actually watched the conversation with Inbal Arieli this afternoon, and I'm very happy that I'm coming in after her because she really opened the window to understanding what Israel is about from that point of view. And I think what I'd like to add today is the other direction, is how American Jewry, what we have to learn from you, and not only what you have to learn from us. So bringing Israel to the JCCs should work both ways in my eyes. I think we should be in a kind of a mutual conversation of learning from each other. I actually sent my kids, all of them, to American day camps every summer, which was a very, very expensive endeavor for us, because I felt that here in Israel, there's not enough creativity in approaching Jewish experience. You can be either an Orthodox or you can be a secular Jew, and there are very few options of being somewhere in between. And in America, I think there's a much larger spectrum of opportunities and approaches and various ways of being Jewish. And I think that doing an American and Israeli collaboration would help us become one people in a more meaningful way. And so I think that if we learn and express and interpret our mutual sources together, then this could add, because coming on Birthright or coming to Israel and having a limited timely experience is one way of knowing Israel, but actually doing something together, creating something together, I think would be another dimension of connecting between us. I hope that answers your question or that relates to your remark, Shirley.
Yes, it does. I had trouble getting off mute.
Okay, but you heard me. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. I think actually it would be interesting to place these verses in your community and see if we have a different interpretation or an additional interpretation to these verses. I actually met with a group of kids from California. We went to Haifa together to look at the different murals. And we were supposed to spend about an hour over there, and we were there all afternoon. They canceled their other time slot because we had so much to talk about, and they suggested so many amazing ideas to the same verses. So I said, it's a shame that we can't just take the spray cans and start working now. So I think this is it's really I'm relating also to what Randy said before. It's opening a window, it's opening a door, and so many unexpected outcomes can be created. So many unexpected things can happen when we all start at this starting point of the Mekorot, of the Jewish sources.
Judy, thank you so much for sharing this this incredible passion and this beautiful project. And I thank all of you for joining us today and to hear about this idea, to be open to this and curious. And thank you, Randy, also for joining us and tying this together. As you know, this is recorded, so you'll be able to find it on jcca.me, where it will be uploaded to there. And you can continue to write to myself for questions, and we can put you in touch directly with Judy and give you all of her contact information, which I think also featured on the email that Isabel had sent out. Judy's bio there and the contact information on how to get in touch with her.
I'll also say that we can, Isabel and I, Isabel who works with me at JCCA and who's on our call as well, can help to connect some dots for people to stick with the art metaphors. I know there are a few communities who've already reached out to me and are interested, and with the idea that Judy will be in, we hope, Milwaukee in May. Maybe there's a way to stitch together sort of a, not quite a Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden tour, but some version of that for Judy Tal Kopelman, no less a rock star in my mind.
Thank you.
So we're happy to have those conversations and to facilitate and to help connect the dots. That's our job for you.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you all so much. This is such an honor and such a pleasure, really.
Thank you, Judy. So we will be signing off, and we look forward to meeting you again next month on a whole different topic, but also very creative, Israel's politics. So thank you, and we will be in touch, and hope to revisit this.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you to
Bye.
everyone,
Bye.
and have a great day ahead.
Goodbye.
Bye, Shirley.
Bye.
Bye-bye.